And welcome back, everyone. I'm Keith, dad of 2 daughters, gamer of many years, and today we're digging into something a little more serious than button mashing. We're going to explore why Microsoft's gaming division, better known as Xbox, is under pressure to hit a 30% profit margin target, a figure that's well above the norms for the video game industry. We're going to look at when the target was introduced, how it stacks up against industry averages, what it means for developers and gamers, and the broader implications for the Xbox brand. This is F5 Dad Reloaded, and let's dig into this. So it's very simple, and what this boils down to is Microsoft shifted from make awesome games to now make awesome games, oh, by the way, that also hit a 30% profit margin. That's right, I said it, 30%. So in the fall of 2023, Microsoft made a quiet but powerful change inside its gaming business. Chief Financial Officer Amy Hood introduced a new benchmark for Xbox financial performance, something called the accountability margin. Now, on paper, that phrase might sound like a typical corporate jargon, but in practice, it's very simple. It's the profit margin, the percentage of every dollar Xbox earns that it actually gets to keep after all of the other costs are paid. According to reports from PC Gamer, Hood set that target at a very specific and aggressive number, the 30%. To put that into perspective, that's roughly double what most game publishers operate at. Like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notified anytime I go live or make a new video. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and let's get this going. Most major publishers operated with margins around 22% during the pandemic years of 2020 and 2021, when gaming was booming and everyone was locked inside playing something. But as the world reopened, production costs climbed and revenues normalized. And by 2024, those margins now fell closer to 17%. That's 17 to 22% when gaming was booming and everyone was locked inside playing something. But as the world reopened, production costs climbed and revenues normalized. And by 2024, those margins fell closer to 17%. That 17 to 22% range is what analysts consider healthy for a publisher. Most recent reports from outlets even indicate that Xbox's profit margins typically hovered between 10 and 20%, depending on the year that we're talking about. One slide revealed that Xbox's accountability margin for the first 9 months of fiscal year 2022 was only 12%. So that number tells an incredible story. 12% versus the now actual 30% expected. So when Amy Hood set this new goal, she wasn't asking Xbox to tighten a few screws. For an industry already struggling with ballooning budgets, longer development cycles, and growing pressure from subscription models, that is one heck of a mountain to climb. And it set the tone for everything that came next. The restructuring, the layoffs, the cancellations, and the corporate recalibration of what success truly meant inside the Xbox division. Now, when we think about the 30%, why would Microsoft push the Xbox division to nearly double its historical profitability? Just a few weeks before this margin mandate appeared, Microsoft had officially closed its $68 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard, one of the largest deals in tech and gaming history. That purchase brought massive franchises like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Diablo under the Xbox umbrella, instantly transforming Microsoft from a strong second-place console maker into a global gaming superpower. But acquisitions that big always come with pressure from shareholders, from the board of directors, and from Wall Street analysts, all asking the same question. You just spent $68 billion. What I want to know is, when does this start paying off? And that is exactly where the 30% profit margin goal enters the picture. Every idea, every prototype, every game pitch now has to pass some sort of test. Not just is it fun, but is it profitable? And yes, as gamers, we are going to feel the impact. And as you're going to see next, this push for stability came with real-world consequences that simply rippled through the entire Xbox ecosystem. As we all know, when a company sets a goal as high as 30%, those effects just don't stay on the spreadsheets. They hit people, studios, projects, and even the players. And for Xbox, those ripple effects came very fast. Almost immediately after the new target hold, the Xbox division began tightening the belt. Behind the scenes, leadership started evaluating every studio and project against the new profitability yardstick, and anything that didn't look like it could reach or sustain the goal was put under review, and 9 times out of 10 got canceled. That review quickly turned into a wave of layoffs and closures. By early 2024, several major first-party projects were canceled outright. Games that had been in development for years, long-running titles like Everwild, the reboot of Perfect Dark, which from F5 Dad, I was extremely excited for that one, and an ambitious internal project known as Project Blackbird was quietly shelved. Studios like Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and The Initiative were either shuttered, downsized, or put into other Microsoft groups. And even for developers, many of whom had just weathered the pandemic crunch, it was a huge gut punch. They weren't just line items being trimmed, they were teams. People who built the Xbox legacy, and as gamers, we relied on. Suddenly, they're told their creative journey just simply no longer fit the math. On the revenue side, Microsoft made equally bold moves. If you can't raise profits by cutting enough costs, the other option? Let's just make everything more expensive. The flagship Xbox Series X jumped from $500 at launch in 2020 to about $650 in 2025, a 30% increase that mirrors the very margin that we've been actually discussing. Game Pass Ultimate, in fact, a video I had done when I created the channel, that was their subscription centerpiece, also saw steep hikes, $15 to $17 to $20, and now $30 per month in just a couple of years. Dev kit fees rose from $1,500 to $2,000, but perhaps the most visible shift came in the Xbox identity itself. For the first time in history, Microsoft began releasing its own exclusives on rival consoles like PlayStation 5 and even the Nintendo Switch. As you know, when you start releasing to other systems and consoles, for that profit that you're going to see, it will increase drastically. So when the layoffs, cancellations, and price hikes started making headlines, that 30% profit margin target, guess what? Wasn't supposed to be public. It leaked through internal reports and media investigations. So when the story broke, the company stepped in to explain, or at least to soften the narrative. In statements to Bloomberg, Microsoft said the company remains committed to balancing creativity, innovation, and sustainability across its portfolio. That phrase, balancing creativity and sustainability, executives emphasize that Xbox has to make hard decisions about what projects continue and which ones are paused or canceled when they no longer align with the company's long-term priorities. In plain English, that means if it's not profitable or scalable, it's on the chopping block. Oh, but it has to pay for itself. And that raises the very uncomfortable question, what's the value of a brand if it stops standing for the things that made it special? So after all the reports, the layoffs, the analyst takes, and the heated Reddit debates, what does Microsoft's 30% profit margin goal really tell us? Profitability first, innovation is now second. For gamers, that means fewer bold experiments and more sure things. And for developers, it means a constant balancing act between passion and profitability. So what happens next? We're entering an Xbox era defined by business precision and creative restraint. Expect more multi-platform releases, tighter budgets, and a focus on established brands that guarantee returns. Game Pass will remain central, but likely at higher prices and with a smaller roster of experimental titles. Player in me worries that somewhere in chasing numbers, we might lose the magic that made us fall in love with gaming in the first place. So what do you think? Is Microsoft's 30% goal smart business or a slow drain on creativity? Drop your thoughts below down in the comments. I genuinely want to hear what gamers and parents alike think about this shift. If you got value out of this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into the business side of gaming. Reset and reload. I'm F5 Dad, and I will see you on the next video.